we get a sort of raw input, but how we interpret it, whether that we interpret it as pain or pleasure, love or hatred, resist it or flow with it, that's our choice. Hey, my friend, there's no thing like duality. There is no duality. Because what is here is the formless playing in form. Form and formlessness is actually the same substance. It's non-dual, meaning one. So, this interesting experience, what we're experiencing in every moment, is thoughts come up, feelings come up. We're experiencing our senses. We're experiencing the outer world and the body. And all things are impermanent, going on forever. In physics, they say energy can never die, but it can only change form. You are God, infinite being, oneness, consciousness, awareness. Not personal awareness, but infinite awareness, in which everything is arising. The body, the mind, the universe. And what we're looking at, or how we are looking at things, is actually through a human lens. Because our brain is interpreting it like it is for us. The world is not objective, it's subjective. An insect, fish, they look very different through their eyes and have a very different experience from what we're having. Even though it's the same world we're navigating. Because the world is energy. And our interpretation machine is the body-mind. But we get to determine some of that interpretation because we get a sort of raw input, but how we interpret it, whether that we interpret it as pain or pleasure, love or hatred, resist it or flow with it, that's our choice. And I'm not talking about bodily pain, I'm talking about mental pain. But we have all these sensations that are beautifully here. And we can create through these, not our sensations directly, but through our interpretation of what we're sensing, we can create our own pain and suffering mentally, our neutrality, or our joy and our happiness. And this is just habit. When you're unconsciously interpreting, then often there's quite some negative interpretations that happen. And some boundaries we create which people step over the whole time. A boundary like, I need to be seen, or something like that. Some sort of setup for failure, setup for pain, which we can learn from. We can see that, right? And then when we let go of that setup, that interpretation, the pain is no longer there. Maybe there's a little bit of energetics we can look at and it melts away. It's kind of like the habit itself. It melts away when we look at it. When we allow it to be there, but we're not reinvesting our energy in it, then boom, it goes. And sure, this takes mindfulness. Sure, this takes concentration. Sure, this takes being conscious. Yes. Sorry. But aren't you here for that? Aren't you here to be conscious? To be a conscious creator? To be a conscious person? Something comes up and we can be neutral about it. We can see through our interpretation and end up in divine neutrality. And just flow with what is. Just be with what is. But through that, don't expect an emotional response. No. Expect a sort of flatness, which is very at ease for a lot of people if you come from suffering. But don't expect a lot of joy then. If you want joy, then we need to train ourselves in positive interpretation. Which doesn't work if we try to jump from negative to positive, right? But it does work if we actually see through our interpretations, realize that we can choose because it's not reality anyway, it's just an interpretation of reality which can create reality again, or at least your experience of reality, which reality and your experience of reality, that's a big difference. Because almost everything which we're experiencing is just our experience of reality. We're just consciously consuming that which we've created ourselves. We're consuming our pain and our suffering based on our own interpretation of that which happened. We see that as our pain and suffering, which is not true, it's just a sensation. When we see through that, we end up in divine neutrality. And from that, we can choose a positive interpretation if we like. We don't have to. We can just be freer from suffering, then we have a lot more easy, happy, relaxed people on earth if people just see through their interpretations. That would be so fun. But to me, the real fun is then in positive interpretation. Because when the self dropped here, when it was clear that there's no inherent self, and there was no sense of that, and there was no sense of lack, really, then I realized how neutral feels. It's like very neutral. And I knew I wanted to fill that emptiness with love. And I am doing that. It's very beautiful. It's the happiness or the joy that I've looked for. Even though it's beautifully ludicrous, I don't have to do anything, of course. But I choose for a positive interpretation. Because it helps me, it helps my family, it helps people around me, it helps the world. I think what the world right now needs is some more lightness and joy, yeah? If you see that. People take everything so serious. You are an infinite being, infinite God, an infinite experience. Temporary as this body-mind, but ever-present, infinitely going. And if you don't believe me, believe physics, huh? We are energy. Every cell is energy. Energy can never die. It can only change form. Like we change form all the time. think I saw recent research where they said that your personality changes 3 times in your lifetime. If you have a full lifetime of, let's say 80 or 100 years, you have like 3 personalities. But it's like such a fade into new personality that you don't notice it, that everything in your personality is just an interpretation. It's just a holding on. But all the while, you were on the ledge, holding on, holding on, holding on. I need to hold on. But actually, I'm on the floor and there's no problem. I can just let go. I don't need to hold on because I'm held. I don't need to carry myself because I'm carried by life. I'm already this wholeness. I'm already this beauty, this love. I can melt the ice cubes of my resistance or my pain from the past, which, it can come up, or it comes up sometimes, and that it's coming up to go out. And it makes total sense to just be with that, to sit with that, to allow it like a big chunk of ice to melt into the warm bath of your attention, your love, your ease. To just be with it. It is melting. You don't have to let it melt. You don't have to decondition yourself. You just go to presence and it deconditions itself. You go back to surrender, to love, to ease. And it deconditions itself. If you have clarity that you're an infinite being, seeing his or her interpretation of life reflected in life, and what's more to say? Everything that comes up is holy, is fine. Then all the old stories and the negativity will melt away so fast, my friend. Because it's not real. It's also not unreal, but it's like it's a mental formation, and that mental formation changes form as well. If you don't claim it like it is. If you have a past thought come up and say, oh, they really did that to me. Change the story. Or be with it fully. Understanding that there's just light and love in this world. Actually, right? There are some distortions of light and love. I know that. But there's no actual not light and love. There's just seeming distortions of light and love. And we can just be with them and melt them away in our presence. All the big saints of the past, they had their own challenges, which they met with love. So I encourage you to, however big or small your challenges are, to meet them with love, to know that you're God, you're infinite being. You can handle it. And it will dissolve itself in your presence. Much love. Bye.